Another week, another SmackDown that Joe Tessitore struggles to stay awake, even though the show just started. Joe Tessitore usually sounds extremely bored whenever the commentary table is shown and him and Wade are side by side together talking, and Joe Tessitore will sound like, yes, well, we have a jam-packed 3 hours of action and in store for you all at home. Ladies and gentlemen, this is SmackDown. Welcome to SmackDown from Providence, Rhode Island. And Wade Barrett's trying to boost in the mood and lighten it. It's a huge clash. Joe sounds bored and Wade sounds like he's trying to hype up the people at home, but it still doesn't work, because you can already tell. Usually when you hear Meg Thee Stallion and, the music hits with no pyro, but instead you get people walking backstage. Like, for example, they showed LA Knight walking and texting down a flight of stairs. I miss those days when we had intros and pyro to get us into the shows. Now there's just people texting, people walking, people with empty cups of coffee. It's just. And then the crazy part is Liv Morgan is the champion, but then she's in a tournament where she gets a title opportunity. So I think we're gonna have, like, if Liv Morgan, let's say Liv Morgan does win the Queen of the Ring tournament. So you'll have the Women's World Champion go against the Women's World Champion. You'll have Liv Morgan face Liv Morgan at SummerSlam. Yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect booking right there. That is so, nothing makes sense anymore, man. So then we get a Women's Queen of the Ring tournament thingy. That, all of these tournaments, and then they just don't have to book creatively. All of this is by design. They have all these tournaments so they don't have to book creatively. They'll just fill out the weeks. They'll have a exhibition here, a storyline lacking match here, a fatal 4-way just throwing two people together from separate brands here. Sol Ruka is currently the women's intercontinental champion on Raw. Just have her here because we need some spots to fill. We don't feel like booking, so we'll just have week to week tournament matches, so we don't have to get creative on anything. Then on top of that, we have a brand split, quote unquote brand split, but then we have world champions from other brands fighting on different shows, mid-card champions fighting on different shows, people fighting on different. This is weird. Yeah, but as far as this women's match was concerned, this was this was just a whole bunch of things going wrong. Botches, wigs falling off, like it was all over the place. This was an unintentionally funny match because we had Jade Cargill wrestling with one hand because she was trying to keep her wig on and then still have a match. And then we had people interfering for no reason. It was just a whole bunch of garbage. This match was, I don't know, man. I can't even put it into words. It was pretty bad. And then on top of that, we have Sol Ruka, who it's not a skill issue whatsoever why she's not good right now. She's not ready. She said it herself that she still has the main roster jitters. She still gets nervous. She still has the nerves going on. And, it shows because when she's out there wrestling, the matches feel heavily telegraphed, ultra fake, just not fun to watch. At some point, I feel like she's going to get the hang of it and her matches won't be as hard to watch because, it's just too many mistakes happen in a row during her matches. So here she was going to go for an Avalanche X Factor on Charlotte, but then Sol Ruka kind of hesitated. And then she was about to slip off. So what she did was platformed onto the top rope and did a backflip off so she wouldn't botch. And then we had, I forgot who won this match. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm not going to go back either because I'm recording, but yeah, I completely forgot who won this fatal 4-way. Damn. Oh, well. But no, I think it was, Charlotte Flair won. Yeah, I forgot. Charlotte Flair's the golden child. The women's tag teams are probably the lowest point of the show, because of how much they don't care about booking good for the women. Like, of course, the men, they don't get booked at all. We got Miz turning into a zombie later in the show, but just I don't know, man. I just feel like when it comes to the women's tag matches and the women's tag division, they've gutted it and fired everybody last year. All the good people, gone out of a job. People like Katana Chance, Carter, Isla Dawn. So I just feel like what's left, like Chelsea Green and Tiffany, what a random pairing, and it doesn't work, and then we have Chelsea Green returning as a face when she did some of her best work as a heel. And then they don't even know how to book her as a face either, but they have her return as a face. I don't know, man. This is just throw any two women together. This is so lazy. So after that segment, we have Jacob talking to the Usos, and then I kind of forgot every word that they said. No, it was they wanted Solo to come home. There we go. That's crazy. I don't remember half the stuff, and this happened like last night. So then we have another week of Blake Monroe, Mariah May being teased. Coming soon. But then she already debuted. She already debuted on SmackDown a couple weeks ago, backstage, in a backstage segment. She had like 30 seconds on screen. That's technically a debut. Even though it's not a match, you're still on the show. So they debuted her 30 seconds, and now they're teasing her debut more and more, like Veer. So they're just turning Blake Monroe into Veer, at this point. So then we get Fatal Influence. Dude, this is so sad. Yeah, Fatal Influence. But the only problem is they're just, I don't know, they're getting fruit roll up, just we can't have 1 week without a fruit roll up. So yeah, Paige and Brie Bella, just what does this do for Fatal Influence? I don't know, man. I have no idea. And then we get Sami Zayn thinking he's John Cena when he'll never be. And then we have Miz turning into Frankenstein's monster. Just a whole bunch of nothing. Miz is a zombie. We have Los Garzas. Now that they're done jobbing, they're just, trying to pay off Danhausen to have the Knicks lose. I don't know, man. Just bro, they should just quit and go to, bro. I don't know, man. Like Los Garzas is like they're both into, like, on their own. They're amazing talent. So to see how they're being used is so depressing. The last time I saw them on TV, they both got destroyed by Obafemi. And now they're trying to pay off Danhausen to change a basketball outcome. The segment ended with Miz being a zombie and Kit Wilson being electrocuted. And people are surprised when the ratings drop so drastically. Miz is a zombie and Kit Wilson is electrocuted. Okay. We get Sami Zayn coming out, and then Cody Rhodes comes out, and then they say words, and then they list all the things they love about each other, and then Sami Zayn asks Cody out on a date, and then Cody Rhodes says no. So then Sami Zayn slaps him, and then he says, "I'm sorry. I'll give you flowers tomorrow." And then Cody Rhodes slaps him back, and then Sami Zayn walks off, and then he realizes he's been rejected. And then after that, Solo cut one of the best promos of his entire career, like just casually cooking here, cutting one of the best promos that he's ever cut in his entire career. He was pretty much listing out how Roman is a heel and, he's the good guy, which I found to be one of some of Solo's best work, for real. But that still will not undo that he's lost 40 something times, 50, 60 something times, and he lost his last match on TV. So it can't really be forgotten. And then we have the AAA Cruiserweight Championship being defended by Rey Fenix to Axiom. Then they have a great match. And then, of course, Rey Fenix wins. Rey Fenix winning on SmackDown would be unheard of if Undertaker didn't step in and give him a title. Triple H has done everything in his power to completely demolish any momentum that Rey Fenix had. So I love to see Undertaker giving him justice. And then we get Trick Williams coming out, and then we have Lil Yachty with the diamond encrusted kendo stick. We got bro, it's just like it's such a minor thing that a lot of people will overlook, but a diamond encrusted kendo stick is pretty cool. And then we get Trick Williams saying some words, and then Carmelo and Ricky come out, and then they just have this whining contest. So whoever whines the loudest gets title opportunity. But the only problem is we have literally Melo and Trick who have immense history, and they didn't build anything off that. Instead, we had Melo give up his spot at he just gave up on ever showing up to WrestleMania when Trick won the United States Championship. He says, "Yeah, well, good luck, man." And then just came off TV for about a month because they had nothing for him. And now he's whining for a title shot from somebody that was literally his sidekick, his manager, in his shadow. They could build so much storytelling off that. But since they're not creative whatsoever, they just kind of waste it and just have, bro, if you never watch NXT and you just see this garbage booking, you think that Melo and Trick have no history whatsoever. It is so frustrating because there's so much that they can do with this and they just don't, man. I mean, but then again, AI can only do so much. So then we get Solo talking to Powerhouse Hobbs, Rolls Royce car keys. Apparently, Jade Cargill came out and said, "Biggest fear happened, and I think I'm still alive. My wig won, though." Yeah. And then we have this match with B-Fab and Michin versus Tiffany and Chelsea Green. But the only problem is Chelsea Green's your United States champion. She got pinned last week. And then now she's losing again by association by Chelsea Green losing this match. So pretty much an L is going to go on her record again 2 weeks in a row, but she's the women's United States champion, which makes zero sense. That does nothing for the title. They already don't give a damn about the title. They sat there and had no pay-per-view appearances for the title, and we're approaching 2 years of it being in existence. And people complain, and people say we're complaining when we're pointing out the facts. They don't care about the women's United States championship. It's just it's not even hate. It's just a proven fact. Even Sports Illustrated is saying it. Man, they sat there and like it's, man, they don't know how to book women or the championships, and that's crazy. So then we get a breakup between Kiana James and Julia, but the only problem is they had all this tension, all this buildup, and the resulting moment is a slap in the face after a interview. So that's like 30 seconds, 60 seconds of a breakup for a storyline that's been happening for about a year or so. That makes total sense. Finn Balor looking like he hasn't aged a day over 40. And then Tama Tonga backstage just saying some words, reminiscing over the times in Japan before Finn Balor was ruined by the Judgment Day. Yeah, and then we have a main event. And yeah, we waited 3 hours just to see Jey Uso pin LA Knight in 2026. This is 2026, and we still got LA Knight losing to mid-event Jey Uso. Absolutely disgraceful, and they wonder why. Bro, this is 2026, and we still got Jey Uso going over on LA Knight, man. What a disgrace, bro. This is so, I don't know, man. This is what a waste of 2026, and we still LA Knight still losing Jey Uso in 2026, man. And apparently, it got ratioed because of course it did. So yeah, LA Knight losing to Jey Uso got ratioed heavily online. And and I love when people say, yeah, well, to be fair, it's only online, the online criticism doesn't matter. But then they'll say something along the lines of the online criticism doesn't matter, and then when the audience boos something heavily, then they'll change their tune. I've always found that kind of funny. Oh man, Jey Uso. I can't get over it, man. It's just so stupid. Jey Uso, bro, this is ridiculous. So it got 10,000 likes, and then it got 41,000 dislikes. And the thing is, they'll keep saying, well, to be fair, it's only online. Those people aren't gonna yeet at home for 35 minutes. It got so bad to the point where LA Knight was about to run it back, and then the crowd was getting hyped for him. Sometimes people just don't want to pay $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 at a show and do nothing. You know, those people aren't gonna yeet at home when they're watching from home. Sometimes they're just gonna, you know, just be calm and reserved. When you're in person, you know, and you're in that atmosphere, of course you're gonna eat. You spent a mortgage to be there because TKO keeps price gouging, so of course you're gonna eat. But to say that it's cherry picking and is only online and it's forced hate, it's not forced hate when somebody who can't even go over the top rope keeps winning over people that the audience picked. And honestly, I feel bad for LA Knight that the audience picked him all this time, all these years. When Triple H sabotaged him on purpose, the audience was still there. The audience chose LA Knight, and the only person who never ended up choosing him was Triple H, the person who sabotaged his career on purpose, who will sit there, who sat there and purposely stunted LA Knight's momentum. So for him to say he feels underappreciated, still, no matter where he's gone, he feels underappreciated. I understand why. But then somebody who not only had a singles run but failed that singles run, and Triple H said that Triple H admitted that it was a failure. Jey Uso said that his single run failed when he was on Cody's podcast. Rikishi said that he wasn't built for the main event spot. And then we still have, and then they make the same mistake and have LA Knight take the pin from Jey Uso. And then they wonder why. They wonder why people turn on Jey Uso, because he's been put in a spot. Like, it's kind of like how Sami Zayn, you know, like the crowd turned on Sami Zayn for almost the same exact reason. And then you have the idiots and the morons online saying it's forced hate, when the hate was forced upon the superstars by being put in these positions they shouldn't be in the first place. It got ratioed. 10,000 likes and 41,000 dislikes for Jey Uso pinning LA Knight. What a shocker. Who would have known that the dude who failed as a main event star experiment, who would have known that a failed main eventer, a failed single star pinning somebody that the crowd has been clamoring for and waiting for their push for 3 years, who would have known that would have gotten mass dislikes? What a shocker. Man, that's, yeah. I mean, even LA Knight said he's going to disappear and you'll never see him again. He said it on Chris Van Vliet's podcast. He said that, you know, once he's gone, and none of us will ever hear from him again. He said that, and it just, like, this garbage right here proved exactly why. So unfortunate, man. So unfortunate. You know, as an LA Knight fan, you know, like of course, you know, it'd be nice for him to get pushed, but let's be real here. You know, it's not going to happen, you know, and it's unfortunate, but, you know, we just had to come to terms. That's why I'm not even mad or anything. I used to be heated whenever LA Knight would, you know, be booked the way he was. But at this point, you know, he's working for somebody who clearly has something against him personally, on a personal level, man to man level, you know, so I'm not going to sit here and get mad anymore. There's no point, because nothing's going to change. But anyways, let me know what you thought about SmackDown from June 12th, 2026. That's about it, really.